Most people don't realize that they're addicted to their current circumstances. You think that this is just what's happening to me, this is just the way life goes, this is what happens to a whole bunch of people. But really, you are creating all your circumstances as you move through life. And then you're addicted to those circumstances. And when I work with people, we find out why you're addicted.
Hey friends, welcome to Right Off Track, your favorite entrepreneurial resource where we dive into the mindset, strategy, and purpose of entrepreneurs around the world who are sharing their real stories and insights with you. I believe that we all have a unique purpose in life, and that embracing our unique and special journey will help uncover that. If this helps you on your journey, I so welcome your support as we grow and improve this channel. Join us, subscribe. I promise you, I'm fully dedicated to making this work better every step of the way. So share your feedback, subscribe, share with a friend, and let's go on this adventure together right off track. Enjoy this episode.
Going off track is taking a chance on yourself.
Following your pulse of curiosity.
It's making your own decisions.
The most wonderful adventure.
Hey friends, I'm your host, Anya Smith. Imagine transforming your life's biggest hurdles into stepping stones using nothing but the power of energetic magic. We're diving into the world where changing your story can change your life, guided by the insights of an innovator who has helped thousands worldwide. His methods are groundbreaking, his results life-changing. Today, we are joined by multi-award-winning author, international speaker, and reality interventionist, Shiraz Babu. Shiraz, pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you, Anna. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. And for all of us listening, can you tell us a little bit about what does energetic magic do and how does it facilitate transformation?
It facilitates transformation, and we get to the heart of what's going on in your subconscious mind that's causing you to create the life you're living right now. So most people don't realize that they're addicted to their current circumstances. You think that this is just what's happening to me, this is just the way life goes, this is what happens to a whole bunch of people. But really, you are creating all your circumstances as you move through life. And then you're addicted to those circumstances. And when I work with people, we find out why you're addicted. And once we see why you're addicted, we can try to invalidate the reasons for those addictions. So, for instance, oftentimes people say, well, I'm not making a lot of money, right? And I'm like, well, do you actually want to make money? And they're like, yeah, of course I do. But as we dig down, we find out there are things like, if I make a lot of money, I have to pay a lot of taxes, but I don't want to pay a lot of taxes. Well, that means you don't want to pay a lot of money, right? And if I make a lot of money, people are going to come up and ask me, can I have some money? Can you invest in my company? Are you using your money the right way? And they'll be telling you how to do things with money. And like, I don't want to have any of those conversations. And then your brain says, well, if we don't have the money, we don't have to have those conversations. I got you. We'll just make sure we don't make a lot of money. And then on top of that, if you see someone else and they've got issues because of the money they're having, like if they're complaining about taxes or they're complaining that, oh, I can't even tell if people like me for me or me for my money, you get this fix and it's like, I don't have to deal with that because I don't have that money and it feels good. And then your body looks for another dose of that. So you keep looking for people that have money issues, even by having lots of money. And you say, well, thank God, right? that I don't have the money. You look for people that are complete jerks because they have lots of money. And you're like, I'm not like one of those people. And you get another hit. You're hitting yourself with dopamine, oxytocin, like sometimes adrenaline if you get an accomplishment by not having money, like just paying your bills at the end of the month. You just managed to do it. You get hit some adrenaline and you're like, ooh, that felt good. And then your body says, let's do that every month so we can keep getting that fix every month. And the addiction is now there. So that's what I do is I help you find out why you're addicted. And then when you realize, well, that sucks. Like, I don't want to keep doing that. Then we can get you addicted to a reality with lots of money, with better relationships, with better health, right? Whatever it is that you need to change in your life.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of our audience have heard of other addictions, right? Whether it's be with alcohol, other substances. So we're familiar with that, but here we're contextualizing that our whole life could have a broader range of addictions. So are there similar steps for quote unquote recovery on this addiction track?
Yeah, it can be very similar because it is a physical addiction. What I typically do with people is when we find out what the addiction is and we invalidate it, we start rewiring your neural pathways. And in the rewiring neural pathways, we decrease the need for the addiction. Now, people still go through withdrawal. They fall off the wagon and they start having a different reality. Let's say they start making more money, and then the money just goes away. And they're like, I thought this was working, but it doesn't work. I'm like, no, you went into withdrawal. Like that's all that was. So let's just get you back on there. And then you'll go further. And then you might fall off again. And when you realize this is part of the process, just like someone overcoming smoking addiction or alcohol addiction, eventually you get to a point where the money's just flowing.
And you mentioned money. I can imagine that being a key thing that people fixate in their relationship to money. Are there other key areas people have addictions with that maybe we don't think about as normal addictions?
So any consistent situation in your life, you are addicted to. So if no one actually, like if you say no one ever listens to anything I'm saying, you're addicted to no one listening to what you say. If you never feel like you're enough, you're addicted to never feeling like you're enough. And we don't realize that. It's just, you just think, well, people keeps telling me I'm not enough, or I can't get the accomplishments I want. And really you're doing that to feed the addiction and you don't even know it because you just think, I want to feel like enough, right? Or I want to have that amazing relationship, or I'm sick of being sick, right? I've suffered with rheumatoid arthritis for 18 years before I realized that I was doing it because I believed I was responsible for everyone in my life. And if I didn't have the arthritis, I would be overwhelmed with responsibility. But if I have the arthritis, then I can lie in bed in pain and not have any responsibility because no one could say, come take care of me because they're looking at me in pain. So, and then I was addicted to the feedback people would give me because they're like, oh, Shiraz, you're a great guy. It's so bad that this is happening to you. So this love is coming in whenever the pain crops up. So then I create more pain and I'm stuck in this addiction to an illness that I don't even need to be in. And when a coach of mine pointed that out, we shifted my beliefs around the whole addiction and the need to be responsible. And the next day, my arthritis was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. And what you mentioned right there is that it's not just the perceived habits we have, it's a physical manifestation of things that support that habit. And what reminds me of like two things. One is that like I got into this mom group for working out. And it was like I had all this knowledge in mind, but I remember that I set myself like a limiting belief, which could be a habit, like, oh, I can't go to that next level of, physical workout, whatever, because, I don't have the time. And so I was like, well, if I'm a mom, then I definitely don't have the time and I'm getting busy. But I was just creating this habit for myself, which was, physically manifesting itself because I was like, well, okay, no, I can't do this. I can't get to the next level. So why bother? So it reminds me of some of those things where if we tell ourselves that, like, we are creating that habit. So getting back to this, how can people catch themselves? Like, what is the first sign that here you are addicted to something and it's not serving you?
So anything you're complaining about, either to other people or internally, that's happening to your life over and over again, you're addicted to it. You just don't realize. So if you're constantly tired, you're addicted to that. If you're always busy, you're addicted to that. If you never have enough money, you're addicted to that. If people are always coming to you to help and you're the one that's taking care of everyone, you're addicted to that. And once you realize there's an addiction, you have to figure out, well, what's the reason for the addiction? If you start asking the question, why do I want this in my life, as opposed to why do I have to keep dealing with this? Then that can cause the answers to come up from your subconscious mind. But if they don't, you need to work with some sort of a coach that can help you pinpoint these things. And that's one of the things I do is we find out, oh, this is what's going on. So I worked with a client. She's running an events business, but she had to keep canceling on clients because she kept getting chronic headaches. And she told me she had chronic headaches since she was 6 years old. Wow. And as we looked into it, we found out that her family taught her that you've always got to be working or you're lazy. But one time she had a headache and then she didn't have to work. And she realized, oh, I can use this as a way out.
Right.
And she didn't it wasn't a conscious decision, but now from age of 6, chronic headaches through her life. Right. And it's basically whenever her body told her, I'm done, I need a rest. And she wasn't in a place to actually take a rest because She'd been taught if I rest, I'm lazy. This was her way out.
Mhm.
So now I said, we got her to a point where you just rest when you want to. You work when you want to, right? Like you don't have to keep working. That lesson you got taught is completely invalid. Let it go. And her headaches went away.
Wow. And is that typically the process? So you pinpoint, you reflect, you pinpoint on what the center is of that habit, that addiction, and then you create a new habit, or does that realization release a lot of that energy? What happens at that point?
Typically that realization releases it and you can start coming out of the addiction. Now, I encourage you to set an intention to create a new addiction because your body wants to be addicted to something.
Mm.
It's going to create a new addiction. So you might as well just say, you know what, instead of just paying the bills every month, I'm going to be addicted to raising the amount of money that's in my bank account each month. Right? So now it's going to be 10,000, then it's going to be 15,000. I'm going to get a fix every time I hit that new milestone rather than get back to zero. Right? Like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are doing. They're just getting back to zero.
Yeah. And for example, like you brought the example of somebody having this fear about money. Like they're like, I logically want to have money, but then when I think about it, I don't want to pay taxes. So when they realize that, and there's a conflict between logic and subconscious perception, how do you battle those out? Because I find that sometimes like logically I want something, but subconsciously I struggle with it. And I'm aware of that subconscious, but how do I then like rebuild a new habit around that?
So one of the things you can do is start programming yourself to be in the life you want. So if you've ever seen movies like The Secret, they say if you want to manifest something, imagine for a car, imagine being in the car and feeling the steering wheel and the seat and seeing the road drive by and just get into the full feeling of it. So to be clear, for doing things like that, you have to imagine these things from a first person point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not seeing yourself, you're seeing through your eyes just like you do in real life, so that your brain thinks it's actually happening. And you have to hold that thought and the emotion for a minimum of 30 seconds. Because otherwise, if you're jumping from scene to scene to scene, your brain knows that's not actually happening. But when you're holding it for a certain amount of time, it's now a memory. And the more you are in that future space of the successful you or the healthy you or whatever the you that's in an amazing relationship, the more neural pathways get rewired to say, well, this is just who I am. And it can have physical effects as well. So for instance, I was on vacation last year and we got the pictures back from the vacation. And I saw my stomach and how big it was. And I'm like, when did I get so fat? Oh my God. I can't go to beaches now until I get rid of that stomach. And then I thought, but I'm not really in the mood to work out. This is going to be a whole ordeal working out and getting myself in that place. But I take walks every morning and every evening. So in the morning walk, it's a 40-minute walk. Instead of just going for a walk, and I usually listen to an audiobook, I imagine myself at the gym having the body I want and doing the exercises in real time at the gym for 40 minutes. And every morning I would do that over and over and over in the same routine, just doing it. And within 6 weeks, I was losing weight and starting to gain muscle mass, and I wasn't actually working out. Within 2 months, I was craving actually working out because to my brain, I've been doing this for 2 months. So then I started working out in the mornings and I still kept doing my walks. So I was basically working out twice a day. And I went down two sizes on my belt, right? And it's because I was putting myself as the future self. So my reality had to catch up to it. My thoughts had to align to it. I found myself not craving as many sugary foods because someone that has that body type doesn't eat that much sugary foods. And I didn't have to put myself on a diet. I just stopped craving the things that person wouldn't eat. Right? And you can do this for your body. You can do this for your success, your money, your relationships. But it comes from that discipline because holding a thought for 30 seconds continuously is hard. Most people can hold a thought for 7 seconds or less, which is about the same as a goldfish. Right?
Wow. That's amazing. My question is, how do we balance that viewing yourself being that 30-second, image of where you want to be or who you want to be, with also the sense of being present. Because what I see people doing is they're often in their heads
Yeah.
doing something, but without really being intentional about it. So how do you balance being present and this ability to also see yourself in the future and visualizing that?
You can actually imagine your future self in the present moment. So you may be doing things in the present, but you can do them. You can imagine that it's your future self doing it. Like I'll be in the kitchen now and I'll be doing the dishes, and I'll be like, maid's off today. so I guess I'll just do the dishes. My future self has the maid coming in every single day.
Beautiful.
And so I play these little games of this is just what's happening in the moment. And as a result, like my income is going up, my business is going up, my connections are going up because I keep seeing my future self already has this all in place. And so reality is catching up to who I am.
And what do you think is the cost of people who are mindlessly kind of wondering? Like if you're just on autopilot all day, like it seems like we're creating something, but it's not serving us. We're subconsciously creating something that's based on our more limiting patterns. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah. So look at 95% of the people in the world. That's what they're doing. Right. We think that because we have these thoughts that we're actually thinking, but most of the thoughts people have are programmed responses to things that happened in the past, and you just learned that's how I'm supposed to respond to that. Right. George Bernard Shaw said 2% of the people in the world think, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. But I found that to be right. Like I'll watch people and you can see how they react in a certain situation. And then I can just purposely create a similar situation and watch the exact same reaction because they're not in thought. They're in complete reaction, which is just pre-programmed responses. But they think they think.
Yeah. So much of our habit takes over.
Yep. So the more you are aware, the more you actually start to think, and you can start to make new choices, and in new choices you make a new reality. And you can even do really simple exercises like start brushing your teeth with the other hand for a while, because now you have to think. When you're usually brushing, there's no thought involved because now your mind's on other things because your body's on autopilot while you're brushing your teeth. But now you bring yourself into thought because you're not used to doing it with the other hand. And you can do little things like that to bring yourself to be totally present and in thought, because what you're doing is new now.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to start to become aware, even when you do something automatically, like, oh, shoot, that was automatic. But that awareness is taking you above where 95% of the world is.
Beautiful. And so would you recommend something like me, like I'm trying to be more present and also see myself as that future person now. So is there an advice for like how to balance it? Again, you can be in the present, imagine yourself in the future, but would you say like try to do that as much as possible, like 30 minutes a day, 10 times a day? Is there a good amount or an amount to strive to, or is it just do your best balancing those two?
I would say do it a minimum of an hour a day, be in that future self. But you don't have to be like an hour a day sitting and imagining your future self. It's like for me, I'm out for the walks being my future self, and I was going to do a walk anyway, so it's not cutting into my time. I'm just utilizing my time differently to manifest what I want. And like with terms of fitness, every chance I get when I realize I'm not doing it, I imagine I have the body I want, because that way I'm just getting used to this is the new body as opposed to the body that currently exists. And that helps, because they've shown that when you imagine yourself doing things, the muscles will actually fire, which is why I started losing weight and gaining muscle mass, because even though I wasn't doing those exercises physically, my body was firing the muscles as if I was. So that's the one thing. The other thing is, as I said, the more you do this, the more you're rewiring your neural pathways. So your mind thinks, well, this is who I am, as opposed to I'm just pretending.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I hear about this all the time, like how our mind perception is pretty much the same as a real experience. For example, if you think about an apple, like a juicy, delicious apple, like you just smell it, you see it, you imagine the crunch, like you start salivating.
Yep.
right? And you physically aren't even holding anything, right? You're just imagining it, but your brain responds the same way. So it's a really powerful interaction. And on that note, could
Yep.
you, go ahead if you want to add something to that.
Another one is to anchor in your successes. So whenever I have a success, I say, well, that's how I roll. And I will do that when people are around as well. So something will happen. It'll be really good for me. Well, that's just how I roll. And eventually they see me having successes and they'll say it back to me. Well, that's just how you roll.
Mm.
And the thing is, now when they're saying it to you, just like when other people around you program you with their beliefs, they're reflecting the belief you've told them back into you. So it's hitting your subconscious, telling you, well, that's just who you are. That's how you roll. So I've got all my friends programmed right now, right? The two phrases they use on me all the time: that's how you roll, and everything always works out for you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's the reality I create as a result. So you just play with it. And like when you're doing it in a playful way, they'll play with you. If you do it in a way that's like, well, you know what, I'm always the best, and then they're not going to play as much. But and especially when you encourage them to do it, because I'll encourage them to do it.
Yeah.
If I see them having a success, I'll be like, that's just how you roll, and they're like, and you see them light up, and go, yeah, that's how I roll, right? And then everyone gets in on the game.
Yeah, you're making the world better, right? If you show up better, it's not selfish. It's that you give other people the permission to do so, and you put your best self into the world. It means that you have more capacity to be better, to give, to grow, to help inspire others. So I think we need to get over the sense of being selfish or whatever, that negative connotation towards money, whatever, but look at it as like the more you have within you, the more you can give to the world. And so it's a win-win collaboration.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm curious, can you share a couple more examples? So you talk about yourself and that's how you roll and everything works out for you. But are there a couple of clients or people who have gone through this and had some incredible transformations by going through these addiction recovery and new addiction cycles?
Oh yeah. so many. One of my favorite clients, I actually have a couple stories on her. So she came to me one time because she was doing a online conference, I think it was called. And she's been doing it for 8 years, right? It's for the travel industry, 3,000 people online every single year. And she calls me and she says, it's 2 days till the conference. There are 500 people registered. And I'm like, okay, but you still got 2 days. Don't most people register in the last 2 days? She goes, I've been doing this for 8 years. I know how many people should be registered, and we're way under. Right? There should be at least 1,500 people registered. It's 500. So we looked at that and I said, okay, what's different this year? And she said, well, I'm hosting it. I'm like, you host it every year. She goes, no. I run it every year. I always hire a host, but we didn't get one this year. I'm hosting. I'm like, huh. And this is like this is going to show how powerful we are as people. So you don't want people to show up because you're hosting. What are you afraid is going to happen? She goes, well, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I trip on stage? What if I insult one of the guests? I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on here, isn't there? And we can actually cause people not to show up to our events, to our workshops, to buy our stuff because of certain beliefs. And I've seen this happen over and over and over with my clients. And once they get through the beliefs, those people start to show up. So we got her out of this belief that it's going to be embarrassing and she'll never recover from it and people won't want to work with her as a result. We got all that out. And then she calls me a day after the conference is over. And I'm like, did the 3,000 people show up? She said, no, 8,000 people showed up.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So I'm like, so you were always holding back to some extent. And now it's gone.
Wow.
And then I was like a year later, she calls me up and she said, my brother and my boyfriend are fighting all the time. And I'm like, do you want me to talk to them? And she goes, no, I want them to stop fighting. Right. Right. And I'm like, I can't make them stop fighting. And she goes, you told me that everything that's happening in my reality is because I'm creating it and putting it there. So if they're fighting, it means that part of me wants them to fight. And therefore, if it's me wanting them to fight, if we shift what's in me, they will stop fighting. That's what you told me. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yes, I did tell you that.
Right.
I didn't think it would come up in this particular circumstances, but that's exactly what I've told you. You're creating everything. Yeah. So we started looking at what was going on, and both her brother and her boyfriend have the personality where they like to rib the people around them. And she had this belief that if they got along, she'd be the target of both of them.
Hmm.
But if they fought, then she'd never be the target and she was safe. And so it was all about, I don't want to be the victim in this relationship with these two people. So we got her out of that victim mindset and worrying about being attacked. And she calls me 2 hours later and she goes, they stopped fighting. Thank you. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite clients because she gets it. She got it to a level that I didn't even get it. I'm like, yeah, I did say that. So let's work this out.
Wow. And also that's amazing. I love how just like that level of responsibility. People do say that a lot. It makes me think also like as a mom, right? Like now I have moments where the kids are kind of yelling and demanding and I have to think about, well, how am I creating this, right? Because obviously parents like, well, they'll grow up in 5 years. Just wait. But there, to your point, is the sense of accountability. Like, what are my limiting beliefs? And that's my challenge, honestly, for myself, reflecting. It's like, what am I doing to create this reality? Right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of homework for me to get out of it. And you feel free to add into that. But I'm also curious, you mentioned that there could be states of withdrawal where people are like, hey, I'm on this, but then they see something change. How do people overcome these withdrawals when they come up?
It is part of it is being forgiving of yourself, because a lot of times when we're seeing the wins and then we lose it, we're like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Like, why am I such a loser? Like these things come up. And when you get that, or you've just gone through withdrawal, then you want to give yourself some love and some space and say, okay, you had a moment, let's get back on the wagon and do it again. And the more times you are forgiving of yourself, the easier it is to get out of the addiction. But you have to remember that you're going to get those symptoms coming up. I had a client, something went wrong every single day, right? And he's like, I don't know what it is. Something always goes wrong all the time. And when I started talking to him, I said, are you a problem solver? He goes, oh yeah, I'm the most amazing problem solver. Like I can solve any problem. I'm like, okay, so let me ask you this. As a problem solver, what do you have to keep having in your life to make sure you feel you're valuable? And he's like, oh crap. I'm like, yeah, so here's the thing. Instead of being a problem solver, why can't you just be a person that can solve problems? Instead of having your source of value and pride come from problem solving, it's just something you do really well. And then in that space, you don't have to have problems any all the time. But when they come up, you can handle them. Right? And that way, and his job was all problem solving too. I said, and that way the problems can stick to the job for the most part. You don't need them in your regular life because you're getting paid to solve those problems. So he said, oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. That sounds good. And so then he calls me back like 3 weeks later. And I said, hey, what's going on? What's happening? And he goes, had a problem today. And I'm like, why do you sound so happy about it? He goes, well, we had our conversation and the next week there were no problems. And I was like, this is amazing. The only problems I have are at work. This is great. This actually works. And then the week after that, I was getting a little anxious because I was so used to there being something, right? And then this week it was full on. When is the shoe going to drop? Where are the problem? And when the problem finally dropped, I felt relief. I'm like, there it is. Right. And I'm like, yeah, that's withdrawal, right? That's what you're going through.
Gotcha. That's so interesting. Again, I'm just thinking about myself, like where are areas where I'm perceiving value or getting validation out of things that I quote don't enjoy. So for all of our listeners, I'm curious, like where are areas for you, like as you're hearing this, what are things that you don't logically say you enjoy, but where are you getting value out of that? What is the benefit of the thing that is not serving you? And how can we kind of challenge that to a more fitting place, whether it's like, hey, how can I do this at work? Problem solve at work. What is the reality I do want to create? What is the new addiction, the positive addiction? Because we will look out for that we can create for ourselves. And Shaz, I'm curious, two examples can we cover to help other people listening? Common addictions that come to mind is being busy, especially as entrepreneurs. Like the key word is like, I'm so busy. Like, oh, I'm busier than you. No, I'm busier than you. And then the second one is social media. Can we tackle in your experience, what are some ways for people to tackle this constant need to be busy? And then if we have time to talk about social media, how do we get over that addiction?
Okay. So with the busyness often starts from the fact that people don't want to say no without having an excuse. They can't just say no and make that a complete sentence. Right? They feel guilty if they tell people no and don't have a legitimate excuse. And that's a decision you're making, is I'm going to feel guilty if I just say no. So your mind says, well, what excuse can we come up with so that when we say no, it's legitimate and it's real? So what the three big things that happen is I don't have any time, I don't have any money, or I'm too sick. And you're gonna have one, two, or three of those in your life if you don't want to say no to people and and you think you'll have to feel guilty. So busyness, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. So you don't have to do the things you don't want to do, and you have a legitimate excuse. Right? And then whenever you say, sorry, I'm too busy, and you're actually busy, you actually get another fix. You get a nice dopamine hit because you're not feeling guilty and it's all true. So you have to keep being busy. When you can decide, I can say no without feeling guilty, you don't need to be busy anymore. The other thing is just what you said. I'm busier than you. I'm busier than you. I've watched this with people, and you have the conversations with the other people that are busy. And in the back of your mind, it's like, how can I outdo the other people so I have the best story to tell? And you get a fix whenever you're the one on top. So you've got a whole group of people that are all making their lives worse because they want to win the gossip talk, right? They want to be the top one to get the prize for that particular day. And yeah, I remember back when I was corporate, I was in the lunchroom. We're all chatting away, and I heard the competition going, and I'm like, I can't stay here and listen to you guys because I know for you internally it feels good, but all I'm hearing is a bitching session. Right? Like that's it.
And I'm curious, can I add to that? For me, sometimes like the busyness also comes from desire to please people, whereas a sense of, oh, I want to say yes to this because potentially I can help, and I can help here, and I can help here. Sometimes I don't necessarily see it being as a way to like not saying no. It's that desire to please.
Yes.
Is there a way to also address that desire to please in this context?
Yep. So if you're a people pleaser, you're going to do whatever you can to get your fix of them saying, oh my God, thank you. And you can choose busyness as another form. And same thing. And you can choose giving money, or you can choose giving your time, your money. Yeah. So your energy. It's so, but now you've created that addiction to receiving love from other people. Right. This is a big thing because you could, just like everyone could be a source of love to you, you can be a source of love to yourself. And most people don't get that. And when you become the source of love to yourself, you don't need the love from anyone else, but you still get it. So instead of it being the meal, it becomes the dessert because you've given yourself the meal in self-love. Right? And that way, if you're not getting it, you're still fine. You don't go into this place of withdrawal. I need to go be busy and help someone so that I can get some love from them. She's like, no, I'm all good. And if someone wants me to help them, then I can do that. And I'll appreciate if they're thankful, but I don't have to do it. I don't have to get that fix. I don't have to prove that I'm useful or a good person or get them to like me. It's just, I'm just going to be me. It's a much easier way to live.
And do you have any advice on how to cultivate that self sense of like, I am the dinner. That's the dessert.
So keep in mind that you have a tremendous amount of value. You are born valuable. But then we get taught that in order to be valuable, you have to do things. Right? And the thing, you're valuable because you got to look at it this way. Have you ever held a newborn baby in your arms? Do. So from the way we are taught that you've got to do things in order to be valuable, that means that when you were holding those babies in your arms right after they're born, you're like, you're useless, you're worthless because you haven't done a damn thing in your life.
You already pooped. It's already day one, you pooped.
Right? But no one does that, right? You feel the value coming off that child. That child has not been taught to diminish their light and think they have no value. It's in full value and you feel that coming off. You were once that child. That value hasn't diminished. It hasn't gone away. If anything, it's grown. So when you get that, then you don't do things to get value. You do things to express the value that's already in you. And the more you learn, the more vehicles you have to express your value. And that's all that is. But we get taught, no, I got to learn and learn, so that's going to give me more and more value. No, it's the opposite. It's just, you've got the value, just how do you want to express it? Right?
So
and when you really embrace this, people will pay just to be in the room with you. Right? And you know this because there's some people out there you'd pay to be in the room with. Right?
Right. Right. And what about social media? That's the other powerful addiction that I want to get to, is that all around we see like people are more and more living with their phone attached to them. And I am no exception. I have spent too much time on my phone. How can people start getting over this addiction of being on social media and being on their phones, being glued to those devices?
So they've actually done studies, and staying on social media up to half an hour a day actually raises your happiness level. After the half hour, it drops drastically. Like it just goes down. So it's not that social media is a bad thing. It's just how long you're on it. And just even the knowledge that if I put in about a half an hour on social media, it's going to make me a happier person. It's going to feed me. It's going to, I'm still going to have those connections to people. Then work within those boundaries. Now, for some people, if you're running your business through social media, you're going to be on a lot longer because it's your business. But at that point, you're going to want to be aware, how much am I actually doing my business versus just the addiction of, look at all the likes I'm getting. Right?
Yes.
Right. And here's the thing, if you're living for likes, you're not in your value and loving yourself. You're every like for you is someone loves me. And you're addicted to the love you're getting from other people. And just become aware of that. So, and again, you can still be in appreciation when you get a like, but if you're dependent on a like, then those are the people that put a post, and then it's just like, okay, there's a like. I'll put my phone down. Oh, let me check. There's another like. Yay! And then there's no like. Oh my God, I suck. I must be valueless because I didn't get a third like. Right? You're fully dependent on everyone else for your joy, and joy is something you can create internally.
Beautiful. Sounds like there's a cycle, though. No matter the addiction, there's a root cause of it, and it seems like it's aligned to your self-worth and identifying the value that you have internally and building things that serve that, like building the habits that serve your inner worth and things you want versus things that kind of avoid, limit you, kind of protect you, but in effective ways.
Yeah. Our two biggest drives are to be loved and not to be cast out. And everything else just sort of forms on top of that, whatever it is. And it can form in different ways. Like when we're kids, we look around to see what love looks like because we want to be loved. So if you're in an abusive household, you decide abuse is love. If your parents only pay attention to you when you clean your room, then you learn that service is love. Right? If you only get attention when you act out, you believe attention is love, and you don't care if it's good attention or bad attention. It's attention is love. And so you just try to figure out what love looks like, and then you go through life with that in mind. Right? So one of my clients, it was there was fighting. So parents would fight all the time. She goes, oh, like she didn't consciously do this, but her little kid self said, oh, that's what love looks like. And then when I was working with her, she goes, I fight with every one of my boyfriends. And then we found out, well, her parents always fought. She's just trying, this is her expressing love to them unconsciously, because consciously she's like, I'm sick of fighting with my boyfriends. Let's make it stop. And I'm like, but you love it.
Wow. So powerful. And here you are, like having all this experience helping others. Were you always so clear on this addiction pattern?
Oh, hell no.
Or how did you get onto this path? How the heck did you find yourself helping others in this space?
So there were two pivotal moments for me. Like number one was I got arthritis when I was 22 years old.
Wow.
And I suffered with it for 18 years. It was in every single joint in my body. So it got so bad that there were like nights where I would sip my dinner through a straw because my jaw was so swollen and painful that I couldn't move it, like every single joint. And I tried everything, medication, diet, supplements, like new types of things that come out, magnets, like yoga, meditation. Nothing worked. until I met a mentor, and he put me through this program, which I thought it was in India. So I thought we were going to do some energy healing and stuff like that. And, uh, and he just talked to me for 2 weeks, going through my whole life story. And trying to think, what's the point of this? I mean, I might as well be with the psychiatrist and I can get that back home. I flew all the way to India. And after 2 weeks, he says, well, Shiraz, you think you're responsible for everyone in your life. Right? And then I'm like, no, I don't. And he goes, well, I know you don't think you do. This is all unconscious. And then I said, well, what's that got to do with arthritis? And he goes, well, when you're sick in bed and people see you struggling, they're not going to ask you to take care of them. This is your way out. This is not a problem. It's a solution. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like, that's ridiculous. And he said, but that's what most chronic illnesses are. So then I said, okay, you know what? If that's true, then all I have to do is stop being responsible for anyone else, and my arthritis should just go away. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, if you actually believe it deep down. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me. And the next day, boom, it's gone.
Wow.
And to be clear, the damage done to my body was still there because it was physical damage being done to my body, but the arthritis itself was gone. So that was the start, because I realized, oh my God, just these thoughts create everything that's going on in my body. And that's when I started to figure out it's not just about physical stuff. It's about money. It's about relationships. It's about everything. And then the second incident was that I kept getting stopped at borders. And every time I traveled, if I drove across the border, if I flew, even if I was on the trains, I would get stopped every single time.
Hmm.
And I called some people out. I said, is this your black check? And they said, yeah, we have to check the black people. So I knew, I knew exactly what was happening. And I'd be telling all these people, this is what happened this time. I got delayed. I got my luggage searched. I got my person searched. I got my vehicle searched. I was put in a room for a while. I get all these things. And then finally, one of my coaches says, well, Shiraz, you ready to step out of that story? And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is not a story. This is racism. And he goes, yeah, there's racism involved, but it's not racism. It's a story. I'm like, no, they said it's a black check. This is like, and this, you can't tell me racism isn't real. He goes, no, racism is real. But what you're experiencing is a story. And I'm like, how the hell is it a story? And he goes, well, you don't get denied jobs because you're black. You don't get pulled over in traffic because you're black. There's a whole bunch of things that happen to people because they're black. You only get stopped at borders. That's it. That's the only thing. That's a story. That's an addiction. It's happening over and over again. And so I said, well, how is it an addiction? Because there's always some benefit out of an addiction. You're getting something out of it. And I said, I'm getting delayed. I'm getting humiliated. I'm getting frustrated. Like, there's no positive thing to this. And he looks at me and goes, Shiraz, when you tell your border crossing stories to people, you light up. You feed their responses to you. And you can't keep telling the same border story over and over again. So you have to keep getting stopped so you have new material.
Interesting.
And I was like, damn it.
Oh.
Right. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'm done. Instead of getting love from people for my struggle, for my adversity, I'm going to get love through my successes. And then I stopped getting stopped at borders. I was unconsciously doing things to make them be suspicious of me. Right. And I found out there's non-white customs agents. Right. I suddenly saw them. I saw the black one and the Chinese one and the Indian one, because I was unconsciously lining myself up with the white ones to make sure there was racism involved. Right. And it's like you start to see the whole world through a new lens once you let go of the addiction. Right. But that it's still the same thing. If the same problem is coming up over and over again, there's an addiction there. Right? And I see a lot of people complaining that I don't get these opportunities because I'm black, or because I'm a woman, or because I'm this old, or because whatever it is. If you're constantly complaining about it, you're addicted to it. And oftentimes, if you're physically complaining about it to other people and not just keeping it to yourself, you're looking for that love from them, from your adversity. So you have to keep creating that adversity to keep getting the love. And this is another reason to start the love internally, because then you don't need it from other people. So you don't need to create the adversity in the first place.
Beautiful. Oof, makes me think about what my border story is. I can definitely, I'm definitely have some homework around this, and you're inspiring this. So to all of us, like, what is your border story?
Yeah.
Right? Just like you said, like you could be so sure that, well, this is definitely not serving me. It's just XYZ. It's happening. Like, and yet there's this level of honesty of like, well, I do like this part of this. So it's making me question, like, what do I like about things that I'm complaining about, even internally to myself? Like sometimes I'm not telling everybody, like, oh, this sucks, but internally every day I'm like, ah. So even if it's not something externally, it gives me, she's like, oh, I can't do this because I have XYZ, right? Or, hey, I'm just so frustrated right now. I have to put up XYZ until later. So it just makes me really reflect on all things. So thank you so much for bringing this to light. Is there anything else? Like, how could people work with you if they're catching themselves in their border stories? Like, you know what? I am thinking that maybe this thing is not just, I can do something about it. It's not just something that I want to complain about all the time. There's actually something I can now make a change. How can people start doing that with your help?
So my help, it can start from listening to my audios. I've created a bunch of audios called Stop Thinking Like a Goldfish. So it's where you got to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they train you to hold your thoughts for 30 seconds or more. Once you know how to hold your thoughts for 30 seconds or more, then you can start doing those visualization exercises and hold the thoughts and the feelings. It's important to do both thoughts and feelings. So you can start rewiring your neural pathways. So when you get these audios on the success page of the audio, so you've downloaded them, it's a success, you're going to get the audios. It invites you to an event I do every single month called Ignite Your Success. It's a free workshop where I work one-on-one with the people in the workshop to find out what their addictions are and get them out of the addictions. And the cool thing is one person comes in and said, this is what my problem is. And we find out what the addiction is. And like 80% of the people in the room go, oh my God, I got that too. So we get rid of it for everyone at the same time.
Wow. That sounds amazing. I love this. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited for all listeners to check this out. Wherever you are, even if you're just thinking about it, start incorporating these techniques. If you are ready to take the next step further, check out this resource and then sign up for the monthly event. That sounds incredible. Maybe you might find me in there in the future after I do a little bit of homework. And just here at Right Off Track, we wrap up with 3 rapid fire questions. So whenever you're ready, let me know and I will shoot.
I'm all set.
Okay. What is one piece of advice for someone skeptical about changing their reality?
One piece of advice, skeptical. Well, if you're skeptical about changing reality, is your reality actually working for you? Ask yourself that question. Right? Because if it's not, then maybe you really want to change your reality. The other thing is go read You Are the Placebo.
Yes. Yes. Joe Dispenza. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great advice. Check out this book. Joe Dispenza is incredible. And so much is in there about the physics and the science behind this, this neuroplasticity. Okay. Let's see. The most unexpected feedback from somebody you've helped.
The most unexpected feedback. Oh, I know. I was giving a workshop, and there was a woman that was attending, and she didn't say anything through the entire workshop. She just came in, sort of said, well, she said hello, and then that was it. And then she left without saying goodbye. And I thought, oh, that was interesting. She probably didn't get a lot out of it. And she sent me an email the next morning, and she said, I attended your workshop last night. I've had chronic pain in my arm for 7 years. It's gone now. I didn't even work with her. What she heard from the other people was enough to cause her to say, I'm done. I'm done with this pain. Let's get out of it.
Wow. I love that. It's incredible. It blows my mind just how powerful our psyche is. Mm-hmm. And every day, I love having conversations like this to see more and more people are becoming attuned to this, attuned to that they can be creating the reality they want by being aligned with what they really want and what's not serving them and where their subconscious is taking them. Okay, I can talk about this for hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. So the last question is, in the positive sense, going off track is?
Going off track, it's exactly what I talk about, getting out of the addiction, going on to a new track that creates more wonder, more adventure, more opportunity, more happiness for you.
Beautiful. You put it so well. This was so much fun. It made me think, I hope everybody listening that you are thinking about, what addictions do you have? Has this challenged your perception of addiction? Has it broadened it to now question what is really not serving you? Maybe you thought addictions was a conventional, like, alcohol, drug, substance, but has this got you thinking about where are your border stories? How can you take a change of them? And if you're excited about this prospect, I encourage you to check out resources, whether it's Shiraz resources or just, take time to visualize the reality you want, have those feelings and see where that takes you. And feel free to share this with somebody who might find it helpful. Feel free to give us our comments and thoughts about how this is going to help your life or things you want to take. And as always, let's take over the world together, right off track. Until next time. And thank you so much, Shiraz. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Anya. It was great being here.
Thank you.